Buen día a toda la gente de jamonpodcast.com. Me encuentro este día con Glen Sobel, músico, baterista de una gran variedad de artistas de diversos géneros, como el grupo metalero Impellitteri, Nicky Six of Moldy Crew, Cypress Hill, Jennifer Batten, Tony McAlpine, entre muchos otros. Pero dejemos que él nos cuente un poco de esa historia. So what's up, Glen? How are you?
Tired. It's been a long day.
Long day?
It's not done yet.
Really? What do you have to do right now? After this?
I'm finished teaching. I've been here all day, but now I gotta go over some songs for some gigs later in the week. You know, doing the homework. Gotta be prepared.
Right.
Always.
Of course. So a little bit of history. So I know that you started to play piano at a very early age.
I took a little bit of piano lessons. Not much.
Right?
Not much.
And then you saw your neighbor has a drum set, and you were kind of impressed, like, or kind of get your attention to that. So basically, you just one day go to your neighbor's house, sit on the drum set, and something happened. So how was that moment?
Well, I just knew already that drums were cooler than piano, at least at age 10 or whatever that was. And yeah, I wanted to check out his drum set, so I sat down behind it, and it was just really cool. And to watch him play, it was like, wow, that's a lot of fun. I should be doing that and not piano. I didn't know that you could do both. I probably should have stuck with both. But I started drum lessons soon after that, and didn't get a drum set probably for a year or two. I had to wait.
Right.
I had to earn it.
Right. So, and after that you started taking lessons, you play with a marching band, I think?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you started to play with the local bands, mostly rock, hard rock, stuff like that?
Yeah, I got in a rock band, but in school I was in marching band, concert band, you know, orchestra, jazz band, we had that going. I was doing the drum line in the spring where just drum lines would have competitions. So I tried to do as much as I could, even school plays, musicals.
Oh,
sure.
Nice.
And we were lucky, our school did all that stuff.
Oh, nice. So and then at the age of 21 you get to play with Tony McAlpine.
Yeah.
So at the age of 21 you were very young to do that, right?
Yeah, but it didn't even really occur to me at the time. You know,
how did that happen? How did you get that gig?
That gig came about because I had been a student of Greg Bissonette's when I was like 18, 19, around that time. So I kept in touch with him and seen him around. And one day he called me and said, "Hey, do you know who Tony McAlpine is? He's looking for a drummer. I just gave your number and your info to his manager. Expect the call. Learn the tunes." And I was already totally into Tony. I had the first couple of records he did with Steve Smith and Dean Castronova, so I knew what to listen to and what to learn. I already had it, so yeah, I was determined to get that gig.
Oh, that was cool. So, and then you get Tony McAlpine, and then you start just playing with pretty much everybody in the business, like big name, Jennifer Batten, this guy from American Idol.
Yeah, that was much later. Yeah, the McAlpine gig, it was like the guitar shred kind of thing. People call it the shred genre, neoclassical. It's like metal fusion, that's how I look at it. And so that led to other gigs that were similar, like the next thing was Impellitteri, another shred guitar player. Not instrumental though, he's always had a singer. And then Jennifer Batten, I started playing with her, Michael Jackson's old guitar player. That was one of my favorites. That was a really cool instrumental record we did. Gary Hoey, toured with him on and off a couple of years and did a couple of records and soundtracks with him. And those were all very similar, those gigs. So I felt it was time to branch out and do something different, or else I'd be forever labeled as this chops instrumental guy, where I liked playing songs too. A lot more to life.
How do you prepare to go from a pop gig with this Elliot Yamin from American Idol to Impellitteri, like it's more like power metal and good rap with the Cypress Hill?
That's funny. This last
rock
last summer, both those gigs were kind of happening, like kind of switching off. I didn't have any conflicts, which was good. But yeah, the Elliot Yamin gig was something that was a little bit out of my element, I thought at first. But when I was going into audition for that, my main concern was not sounding like a rock guy at all. That gig is a pop R&B gig. It's got a little bit of rock elements here and there, but it's a light hitting gig. So smaller sticks, smaller drums, lighter cymbals like Sabian HHXs. I had not really used those much, but they fit that gig perfectly. And so I had no problem learning the songs and the parts, but I just I didn't want to sound like I had too much of a heavy hand or a heavy foot. You know, turn the beater around to the soft side and just try to have that energy of a tight, sort of pop R&B drummer. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but I fooled him really good. That's what I always say.
When you're a very successful drummer, how did success come? Is it because you're an amazing player, because you know people who knows people, because you know a lot of the music business?
Well, I appreciate the compliment. You know, it's all relative as to how talented or good, quote unquote, somebody is. There's a lot of people that can just play good time. They're not technicians. They don't know how to play a lot of double bass, crazy stuff, or odd time, or weird metric modulations. That's not stuff that happens on most gigs anyways. They're able to play good time, play well with a click track, but they got all those other things going on, like they get along really well with other people. They're able to do that networking thing.
Super important.
And there's something about them where people meet them and say, yeah, I could see being on tour with this person for months and not want to kill them, right? Or not be driven nuts. It's about the hang. Have you heard that word?
Yeah, totally.
In LA, it seems to be about the hang. It's not always the guy that is technically the most qualified. It's the guy that's already like friends with somebody on the gig. And so that friend can vouch for that person's character and say, he's a good guy. We should get him because I know that everybody will like that person.
Yeah, so that's really a need. So like, I have to be the best player in the world to play with a lot of artists. It's really not.
Sometimes being like super qualified can mean being overqualified. Right. Maybe a person doesn't like playing something that sounds like AC/DC because they think it's too simple. I think that's far from the case. You really got to deliver the right amount of energy when you play that kind of music. You got to be able to appreciate why you're just playing 1 and 3 on the bass drum and 2 and 4 on the snare. You don't do it because you have to. You do it because you want to.
Right.
And it's in your blood. You just know what that rock feels like, that type of rock. If you're a jazz player that's going to play that, it's not going to sound authentic. So having that kind of mindset, being able to adapt and play with the right energy, that's important too. And then image. This is Los Angeles. Right. It's an image-oriented town, and it's an image-oriented business, so that figures in. You got to look the part, and some gigs that's more important than others, but it is important.
Right.
All that, everything you mentioned.
You just told me like you record for Alice Cooper some older song that you're playing for the Rock Band.
Some for Rock Band, Guitar Hero, one of those games. Redoing some of his old hits. Yeah.
So any future plans for you?
You mean what's coming next?
Yeah, what's coming next for
there's a couple of possibilities of touring this year. It's nothing that I can talk about yet because it hasn't happened. And things in this business change every day. They change every hour. But I've gotten called about 1 or 2 things, and I just got to see if they're going to pan out or not.
So which one has been your most embarrassing moment in your drumming career? Something like, you know, like you say, like, oh, no, man.
I don't know if there's been any one particular embarrassing moment. There's definitely times where I think that I wish I could go back in time and talk to myself about how to handle a certain gig or situation better.
Okay.
But you can drive yourself nuts with that. In hindsight, it's 2020. You could always look back and think about what you could do better. You got to prepare and then do even more to just make sure you got it without even having to think about it.
Right.
Because if you don't, somebody else will do that.